audit, the governing Liberal Democratic Party found that some 180 of its elected lawmakers, or almost half of its entire membership in Japan's parliament, either accepted donations or attended events held by the church and related organizations. That is ringing a bell here. Anyways, back to Abe. Abe's assassination was conducted by a man that was destitute, and he was broke because of the Unification Church. They had brainwashed his mother in her old age, brainwashed her into giving the church all of his family's money, and she left her sons, his family, so destitute that he and his siblings often didn't even have enough money to eat, and they became so despondent that his brother committed suicide, and he himself had attempted suicide. Again, I'm just telling you what happened factually, obviously not a justification for him to have assassinated the prime minister. But the story here is compelling, and if I'm being honest, that is exactly the strand of ick that I got as I was watching AmFest and this tent and like the microphone and like put into a case and set. It's like the ghost of Charlie. That's exactly the strand of ick that I got. Like everyone was on stage speaking about the Lord, but no one was actually meaning the Lord. It was instead watching a charismatic cult, people who were trained in tactics of manipulation, preying on weak minds of their followers and people who actually love Charlie Kirk. And of course, that explains the Hollywood tint to it all as well. Anyways, you're probably wondering, what does this have to do with Liberty University? Well, funny story. I was contacted by people who are still at Liberty University, still working in Liberty University's office, and they told me that I had a couple of things wrong. And I will say allegedly here, allegedly. They told me that Jerry Falwell Jr. was also taken down, unfairly taken down is what they said. Essentially, the entire pool boy scandal, that was the sex scandal that took out Jerry Falwell, and the circumstance which Jerry Falwell eventually spoke out about actually himself, confirming this person inside of events, was that his wife was indeed having an affair with the pool boy. And that affair was then used to generate a ton of articles and then used to force his ouster out of the church. And this person claims that it was corrupt pastors, evangelical pastors, that wanted him out and wanted to put an end to the Falkirk Center. Okay, so to back this up, Charlie Kirk and Jerry Falwell came together and established what was the precursor to Turning Point Faith. I was around for that. The aim was to harness the energy of Charlie's brand with the youth and to turn that into ministry for evangelicals and to inspire young people to go to Liberty University, to sign up and to go to Liberty University, because Jerry Falwell Jr. had turned it into a very profitable school. And he had separated it from the church, wanting the finances not to be mingled with the church, which was something that his father had not done. There was no separation between the church and the school when Jerry Falwell Sr. was alive. Well, apparently the pastors who made a fortune while Jerry Falwell Sr. was alive did not like that. They did not like the separation of the church and the school. They wanted to profit from the school's earnings as they had done in the past. Again, I'm going to say allegedly. But this person inside, they've got access. So when Charlie Kirk came around and wanted to expand things in a way that would not directly benefit the church, they weren't so keen on that idea. Now, this person that I spoke to is my favorite kind of source because she disagrees with me passionately on the topic of Israel. She said, I have to speak up irrespective of that because what they did to Charlie is wrong. And they're lying about what happened. And I know that something is not right with these pastors because I know these men. So yeah, they established Jerry Falwell, Charlie Kirk, the Falkirk Center in 2021. And I want you guys to remember that, interestingly enough, when Charlie Kirk was meeting at Liberty University about establishing that Falkirk Center, a certain Johnny Moore inserted himself into the meeting, the planning sesh, so to speak. He just pulled up a chair. Now, you remember I told you about this Johnny Moore character. At this time, in 2021, when he was back on their campus, there was no reason for Johnny to actually be there, even though he kind of grew up on the campus. He did. Johnny had been at that campus since he was 14 years old. We'll get into that. But he had quit his job as the lead pastor of Liberty University back in 2014. And yet here he was coming up with a reason to be there, snooping into Charlie and the Falkirk Center. And you should know that when Johnny left Liberty University in 2014, he went to Hollywood to start the PR company, the Kairos Company. Andrew Colvett, like he was a part of the Kairos Company. You'll recall that. He's Johnny Moore's partner, protege, I don't know what you want to call it. But when that Kairos Company got established, Andrew Colvett was the executive vice president, and he effectively was working for the Kairos Company, Andrew Colvett, and then got hired to be the PR guy for Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA. Another interesting point that the source told me is that Johnny Moore, despite going to Hollywood in 2015 to work with, and I should mention here, Mark Burnett, it's who he went to go work for. Mark Burnett is a very big name in reality TV world. If you're in your head like I did immediately when I thought about that, I was like, wait, wasn't Erica on a show randomly? What's the show called, Summer House, in 2019? Interestingly enough, when Mark Burnett took over MGM, became the chairperson of MGM, they did acquire, he owned Summer House. So that's interesting. So there could be a connection there. There could not be one, but I'd be interested to know who her PR person was there. And I will ask how she got on the show. Anyways, back to Andrew Colvett. Back to Johnny Moore. Johnny Moore immediately and consistently, despite establishing the Kairos Company, wanted his job back at Liberty University. He wanted to be still a part of Liberty University. And the question is why? Why was the Kairos Company so interested in keeping a leg inside of growing evangelical organizations? Do you remember back when the ADL put me on their list before I got fired, before the whole Christ is King debacle? That's what they put me on the list for. And then a year later, Dr. Jordan Peterson, and a certain Reverend Johnny Moore created a report and doubled down explaining that Christ is King is in fact actually anti-Semitic. And they created this whole video graphic to show that I was a radical for saying Christ is King. Yeah, that's Johnny Moore and his beliefs pretty much in a nutshell. Like, he just does disastrous PR to defend the state of Israel. But boy, is it earning him some money. He serves on the ADL task force. He received the Medal of Valor from the Simon Wiesenthal Center. These are the organizations, by the way, they were born out of Zionist gangs, literal gangs, just to be clear. And they are the very organizations behind the initial attacks on me that have from the beginning been meant to pull me and Charlie apart by drumming up weird anti-Semitism scandals and then having donors demand action. Anyway, I want you to hear Reverend Johnny Moore in his own words so you can catch his drift, catch his vibe, if you will. Take a listen.
So now, I'm involved in the ADL in all kinds of ways. I'm a part of the ADL and Aspen Institute Civil Society Fellowship. I'm on the advisory board for the Aspen Institute and ADL Civil Society Fellowship. It has shown me where we have to keep our eyes on certain trends and certain ideas, and when people say things, what they actually mean. It's been not only an amazing educational experience, a practical way for me to get into this fight against hate for good, but it has also afforded me the opportunity to learn so much along the way and to meet so many different people. And I can tell you, again, I'm not Jewish, I'm Christian, and yet I've just always felt at home, in the ADL community.
Now let's hear him, but let's put him in a yarmulke. Take a listen.
I know the state of Israel is strong. It's as strong as it's ever been. The truth is, you don't need us. But what I want you to know is that, need us or not, we are committed to building a great wall of Christian Zionism all over the world to push back the forces of anti-Semitism. But that also includes educating well-meaning Christians on our own history of Christian anti-Semitism.
So who is that guy? Who is Johnny Moore? Where did he come from? The answer is actually quite compelling. He was a kid that grew up in the Lynchburg, Virginia area. And I'm just going to actually read this first sentence from Christianity Today. It says, Johnny Moore was only 14 when he first stayed in the dorms at Liberty University. And since then, he's pretty much remained at the school that Jerry Falwell Sr. founded 41 years ago in Lynchburg, Virginia. Moore and his single mom family briefly lived in the dorms after his parents' divorce and a temporary stretch of homelessness. Okay. Now, somebody that went to school with him verified exactly that. They said he was a kid who grew up outside of Lynchburg. In high school, he was very poor. Very poor. They stressed this. Not a problem, obviously. I was poor too. But they also mentioned that Johnny had some severe daddy issues. I am told directly by someone who went to school with him that he made a name for himself in a long way. He got caught with some porn magazines and was pretty badly made fun of. Okay, kids make mistakes growing up. But it gets more interesting when you learn that suddenly little Johnny fell into a lot of money. He had a male mentor who bought him and everyone in his family, allegedly, brand new cars. So Johnny was po no mo. And this daddy mentor of his is the one that pushed for Jerry Falwell Sr. to give Johnny a position with Liberty University. That man's name is Ron Godwin. It's Johnny's mentor, Ron Godwin, the protege of Sun Myung Moon, the Moonies cult. Sun Myung Moon, who led this Moonies cult, picked Ron Godwin not only just to run the Washington Times for him, which I told you they purchased the Washington Times, but Moon also declared Ron Godwin to be one of his 3 disciples, declaring, and I quote, "You will be like the 3 disciples of Jesus. Each one of you will put yourself in Jesus's position and multiply 3 disciples of your own." So Sun Myung Moon says, I am like Jesus. I feel like I'm blaspheming just saying that. And he picks this Ron Godwin guy and he says to Ron Godwin, and you will pick 3 disciples of your own. And yeah, we can confirm that looks like one of Godwin's 3 disciples, so to speak, was Johnny Moore, who minted the Kairos Company with none other than Andrew Colvett of Turning Point USA. Looks like this. If we look at that in an organization chart, yep, he's a declared disciple, and I guess I should have put technically Johnny beneath him. And Andrew, I'm wondering if Andrew is Johnny Moore's disciple, or I don't know, one of Ron Godwin's 3 disciples. We're not sure. But we can tell you that when Ron Godwin retired from Liberty University in October of 2014, of course, his Johnny boy left too, right? Johnny was his protege. And Johnny, that's when Johnny went to Hollywood. But then all of a sudden, he wanted back in at Liberty University, and he was told no repeatedly. And without Daddy Godwin to push through his paperwork this time, there really was no pathway for him to end up back at Liberty until lo and behold, in 2021, as his executive vice president, Mr. Andrew Colvett, is now managing Charlie Kirk, the most unbelievable thing happens. Jerry Falwell gets ousted from Liberty University. Jerry Prevost is named as his successor. And the very first thing that Jerry Prevost does is he fires Charlie Kirk, and he also moves rather immediately to reinstate none other than the sometimes lurking Johnny Moore, paying him, I am told, an absurd amount monthly retainer. And I'll say allegedly here, even though my source comes directly from inside Liberty University. So I feel pretty confident that the information I received is accurate, that they just ousted and they said, Johnny's now back and influential and making money here. So what's the point here? Take me very seriously when I say that Turning Point Faith is problematic. The organization is intended to be the Moonies 2.0. The intention behind the Moonies cult, by the way, in case it's not clear to you, was one world government, achieved through the concept of a unification church. We are all being brought in by the, I guess you could say, their version of the Lord, which is just, I don't know, some CIA clone, somebody that you can get behind. They are repeatedly establishing a messianic figure, and they're expecting people to follow them because how dare you question the Bible? It's all really sick when you think about it. And yeah, Andrew Colvett, I think my dream might have meant something. And that's why you've been completely freaked since. Anyways, we'll be right back after taking a brief break. All right, you guys, new research is revealing something heartbreaking. More than 7 million American women suffer severe, long lasting emotional distress after an abortion. Grief,
Ah, perfect. That's what I want. Oh, that's bad.
Me and my family feels troops of branch is apply Christianity fair was that factually circular city received
Good.
verified. I told you all slash cult and this time of blessings. This is what real healthcare looks like. Preborn stands on the front lines, providing free ultra.com today and use the promo code Candace at checkout. Strand of military corruption. I think that's the reason that the Moonies cult was established in Korea during that time, and that it is very likely that the entire thing was just a CIA operation, and they are attempting that again via Turning Point Faith, and that's the reason Turning Point USA Faith wants to get into real estate. It feels like they're buying up so much land, and now we're having these fires that are happening all around the world, these natural disasters, and they're trying to tell you that these disasters are natural when it's becoming pretty apparent they're not. It feels like these are land grabs, and you should be allowed to think through that with what I am telling you. Actually, city. Anyways.